Hello, Internet. The Morgan You Know Podcast Network presents Balls and Brew.
Welcome to the flagship sports podcast here on the Morgan You Know Podcasting Network. I am your host. My name is Rod Morgan. This podcast and every podcast here on the network is produced by James Jamriska. We will hear from Jimmy here in a little bit. It is NFL and NBA season, so that means this podcast is a 2-for-1. I'm going to drive, as we call it when we discuss NFL Week 11 here at the top, and Jimmy Jam is going to run the fast break at the end. Jimmy, what can folks expect to hear on the fast break that we do here at the end of every Balls and Brew?
Well, we're going to have the Rodemnation of the week, the King's Court, faces heels. We've got everything from the NBA in 15 minutes or less with a little asterisk.
Exactly. A little asterisk meaning how much I do or don't want to continue ranting on something. It's usually my fault that we run long, Jimmy, and I apologize for that. But that is basketball at the end of this podcast. If we are talking football at the top, there is only one man we can have with us. And boy, is it going to be evident this week. We didn't have him last week, but he is back this week. Thank goodness the flop sweat now doesn't have to go as I try to carry a football pick segment. It's our handicapper, Josh Williams. Josh, hello. Are you okay? Did Moose and Rocco have to shut down your internet last week? What was going on over there?
What's up, man? What's up? You guys did an awesome job last week. I enjoyed some laughs while I listened to it. Sorry I couldn't make it. Had some technical difficulties. But not only is it NBA and NFL season, Rod, it's college basketball season. I know we don't talk about that much here, but Hoosiers 2-0. Kentucky loses in double overtime. What a time to be alive.
Listen, you did the two things that could spark me to talk about college basketball. You mentioned the Hoosiers winning and the Wildcats losing, my friend. You may get some college football or college basketball talk on this podcast before all things are said and done. Our man in North Carolina may be having internet issues this week. I don't know if there's some sort of weird internet ghost that's following around the Morgan You Know Podcast Network right now. We are efforting to see if Chris will be able to join us at some point during this episode to tell us the three things that he knows. But if not, then Jimmy and I and Williams will just have to do our best like Jimmy and I and Chris did our best last week. Let's start here. Start with the one team that has dominated conversation more on this podcast than any other. Is it because they're the fan of the host? Perhaps, but I also would tell you they've been an interesting team all year long. Jimmy, the Indianapolis Colts, tell us about who the face of the week is.
Face of the week is Jeff Saturday, your brand new coach of the Indianapolis Colts. And let me tell you, he does a very good job talking to the media because he was part of the media, obviously. I want to run through a wall, with him. He was did a good job in the press conferences. He was on Pat McAfee's show this week, and boils down to it doesn't really matter what anyone else thinks. He's going to do the best he possibly can, and he is an undefeated NFL head coach, which not a lot of people can say.
Not a lot of people could say. One game, small sample size, Jimmy Jam.
We'll take it.
Let's relax here. I am not a fan of this victory. I'm a fan of Jeff Saturday. I was a fan of the hire because I thought that it would just further the disarray and that the Indianapolis Colts would continue to lose, which I feel is the best thing for their future. But, Jimmy, it sounds like you're excited about this Colts team perhaps winning. Tell me why.
Well, because I don't think they're going to be – right now, they're not good enough to get one of those top 3 or 4 picks. And by the good enough, I mean, of course, bad enough. But they are good enough to perhaps get in that end of the playoffs, which I know is tough because they're already 2 games behind the Titans. And if the Titans win on Thursday night, then they're going to be even more. But why not? Let's just go for it. Matty Ice, one more run. Jeff Saturday, make a tough decision for Irsay and all the purists for next season if Saturday gets them to the playoffs. That'd be fantastic. I love anarchy, Rod. I love anarchy.
No, you do not. That is absolute garbage for everyone listening to this podcast. I've known this man most of his life. There is no circumstances where Jimmy Jamriska is pro-anarchy. But I love that you are arguing the other side here on this podcast, Jimmy. Thank you. Let's go to our handicapper, Mr. Williams. Did you pick up any kind of coaching tendencies? Do you have thoughts about how Jeff Saturday is now going to coach games based off of his first performance as Indianapolis Colts head coach?
I mean, do you want to get into the first pick right here? Because that leads into it.
That's exactly what I was trying to do there, Mr. Williams. That's why I'm the driver there, my friend. And you picked right up on that. Let's take us onto that lane.
You are the professional. You know what? I'm riding with the Colts here, +7. You find that on on DK for -115. I think this is a tough spot for Philly. This Philly D was on the field for 83 snaps on Monday night, and they're a bottom 5 rush D when the big defensive tackle Jordan Davis isn't on the field, and he won't be on the field on Sunday in Indianapolis. We've seen the Colts now under Saturday. We know what they're going to do. They're going to run the power run game with Jonathan Taylor. Jeff Saturday is a former offensive lineman. I believe he was an 8-time Pro Bowler, but he wasn't immensely talented. He got to be a Pro Bowler with his smarts, with his studying schemes, with his work ethic. He takes over the Colts last week, and is it a coincidence that Ryan Kelly had his best grade on the O-line since week 1? Quentin Nelson, highest grade of the year. Left tackle Bernard Raymond had his best pass blocking grade of the year, and first time since week 1 that he didn't allow a pressure. And then Matt Pryor, the right guard, had his best run grade of the year. Overall, only allowed 4 pressures against the Raiders, 0 sacks. You don't think Saturday had these guys pumped up to make a statement? I just think JT last week had 83 yards before contact, and we saw Washington wear down this Philly front, 3.8 yards on average before contact. So those reasons, 55% of the tickets are on the Colts. It jumps to 77% of the cash is on the Colts. And last thing here, underdogs of 3.5 or more with game totals of 47 or less. The game total in this game is 45.5. Those underdogs are 46-19 against the spread. That's 71%. I think this is a good spot here for the Colts +7 on Sunday.
All right, Jimmy, you want to know what I heard there? And that great description for Mr. Williams there. Our handicapper has great stuff for the people every time. That was phenomenal stuff there. But you want to know what I heard? What I heard were 2 of the highest paid offensive linemen in all of football actually did a decent job last week. And I heard Jeff Saturday was an 8-time Pro Bowler. Jimmy, I ask you this question. How much did Jeff Saturday benefit from the fact that he was hiking the football to 18? Did that maybe get him a couple of extra votes for the Pro Bowl?
Of course it does, but you're also protecting an immobile quarterback, so that had to have a lot to do with it as well. So let's give Saturday his just due. He was a really strong offensive lineman that did make a lot of Pro Bowls. Yes, 18 helped him a lot, but also going back to Williams, I'm going to circle back here real quick. I'm going to take his gimmick. Let Jonathan Taylor cook. You know, the fans in Indianapolis have wanted him to run the ball this entire year. Has not been a good year for him. Maybe it's what they need to do is just go back to the basics and run the ball. Worked last week. It might work this week, although Ndamukong Suh may have something to say about that.
Williams, all right, let me ask you this. You are not as invested in the Indianapolis Colts as Jimmy and I are. Jimmy grew up more of a Bears fan, but now he lives down there in Indy. He's becoming more and more of a Colts fan every day, and I love it. You are not as invested in the Indianapolis Colts as Jimmy and I. I think this is ridiculous for the Colts to win football games and try to make the playoffs with an interim head coach who doesn't have much of a chance of being the continuing head coach and a quarterback who's on his last legs. Why should I be excited like Jimmy and make the playoffs? Or do you lean more on my side that the Colts should still be losing games even if they can't get one of the top 3 picks?
I mean, you know me. I think this Titans team is completely overrated. So I think they should go for it. I didn't think they should be punting on the season with 10 games to go in the first place. I mean, you could have put Ellinger in for 1 game, and they should have won that game against Washington. They had a muff punt that cost them the game. But for them to name Ellinger the starter for the rest of the year, I thought was crazy. And then what happens? You know, Saturday gets the job, and then they put in Matt Ryan, and he comes to the rescue. But, yeah, I mean, this Titans offense is just, I mean, complete mirrors. I mean, they're just last in yards per game, last overall in passing, worst in offensive yards per drive, 7th worst in points per game. Like, I said it from, like, this division's still up for grabs. They should have won both games against Tennessee. So why not go for the division?
Let me ask you this, though, then, Williams. I'm going to push back ever so slightly in more of a gentle way than I normally push back against you sometimes here, all right? You talk an awful lot about coaching on this podcast. At what point here are we to give Mike Vrabel credit, right? You look up every year, and this is what Tennessee does. They're tied for the best record in the AFC. You say they're a terrible football team. I would agree with you that they're a terrible football team. I thought they were a pretty terrible football team the last couple of years, but all Mike Vrabel and the Tennessee Titans do is seem to win football games. At what point do you give Vrabel credit and stop just saying Tennessee's a bad football team here? Because I think you give Bill Belichick a lot of credit. Is Vrabel by no means Belichick, but when does he start to get some of that cred?
No, I mean, he has those guys playing extremely hard for him. I will give him an A+ for that. He does. And, man, he is extracting every single thing from that team. And I mean, they are one of the luckiest teams in the league. I mean, we've said this about, remember we said this about Seattle, and it finally caught up with Seattle last year. Like, they cannot keep running this hot, and then Seattle finally finished last. Like, Tennessee cannot keep running this hot. It just can't. It can't happen.
So basically, what you're saying to everybody is Tennessee is Icarus flying too close to the sun, and the sun is going to burn his wings off, and then he's in trouble, right? That's essentially what you're saying here.
At some point, but you're right. I will give you credit. Vrabel is a good. He gets the most out of his players. Not exactly the greatest analytics guy, but he's not terrible either. He's made a few terrible calls, but he does get the most out of his talent.
All right, well, I like that Vrabel came up there at the end because I think it ties back into the Jeff Saturday of the whole thing where we started this conversation. I also wanted to get into a couple of newsy items around the entire NFL, and since we are now, the internet issues have been solved. Our man from North Carolina, hashtag Old Man Chris King. Chris, I believe you're here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I am here, and I am well.
All right, good. Thank you so much for coming. We want to let everybody know that you probably already actually know this, but the Buffalo Bills were going to play a game in a whole lot of snow, and now the NFL has decided to move that game indoors to Detroit. So the Buffalo Bills will be playing their game against Detroit, or in Detroit now, and not in Buffalo. And Chris, that sparked one of the things that you know, and since you are now here, my friend, I will let you air one of those right now.
Yeah, I know that you just need to let them play in the snow. Like, I get that it's a safety issue for fans, blah, blah, blah. But listen, there is nothing more fun than playing in a snow bowl. I guarantee it, those guys, every you talk to the players, they're going to tell you that, yeah, I would love to play in that. Like, who cares if it's 4 foot, 6 foot? I know there's a couple guys in the Browns that are 5'7". Maybe they'd get lost. But listen, let them play in the snow. That's great TV. That's great entertainment. Let them play.
All right, Williams, I love this take by Chris, by the way. It's such an old man take, Chris. It's just such an old man take. Williams, you're a coaching guy. So if you're Browns coach Kevin Stefanski, do you then just have to bench your guys that are under 6 foot tall if they play the game in 6 feet of snow?
This is bad for Cleveland, man. They had a chance, I think, to beat Buffalo in the crazy snow with a good rushing game. But now going on the turf, like, I feel like even though this is taking away a home game for Buffalo, I think this actually favors Buffalo because of the high-powered passing attack. So, yeah, we'll see. I don't know how many guys under 6 foot are on the Browns. We'll see.
I saw at least 2, I think, something on Twitter there. But, Jimmy, how much of a handicapper is Mr. Williams that he basically bypasses right by my joke and just starts handicapping the game for the people?
He's all business on this podcast, Rod, so I like that. Chris and you and I can have fun, but Williams is all business. And, Chris, I'm sorry, did you just yada safety? Yada,
Listen,
it's 6 feet of snow. People could die. It's fine.
Listen, in northern New York, and listen, anywhere in the north where they have this snow, you don't have to worry about electricity. They got those power lines buried now. They're not going to lose power at the stadium.
Oh, God.
If the fans have to stay at home, that's fine. Let the players play. They can help shovel those lines to make sure. Like, listen.
Yes, sure.
I've been around
Josh
for
Allen's
a
gonna
long
go
time.
shovel some lines.
I have had to help clear some practice fields or the football field before we can play a game. This is part of football. Weather
yeah, but
is
that's all.
big
You also
part
used
of
to have
football.
to hang peach baskets to play basketball. That's not just because you used to have to shovel when you played football. That's nothing for what we're now talking about in modern day NFL. This is such an old man take out of you. Let's move on to something else that happened last week that I wanted to touch on here real quick. Mr. Williams, I'm going to bring you in first on this, and then Mr. King has a take off of it. I think the biggest win last week was maybe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning their second game in a row, basically solidifying their run in the NFC South. Big win by the Bucs over in Germany, right, Mr. Williams?
I mean, yeah, that was a pretty big win. If you're calling for like most miraculous win, that had to have been the Vikings.
Yeah, no doubt. That was the game of the year for sure. I wasn't necessarily talking about that, but I think the biggest win though, I think, was Tampa Bay.
Yeah, they got their pass game going a little bit, but I think what's huge is they got Akeem Nicks back on that defensive line, and we've seen it throughout the NFL, man. Those huge defensive tackles can have so a good effect on the rushing game, the lack thereof of the opposing offenses. When he's in there, it's a total shutdown of the opposing rushing game. I've seen that because he was on the Bears for a while. We've seen that with Jordan Davis with Philly. We mentioned that earlier, and now he's not going to be playing against the Colts here. And then there's a few other ones in the league. That's DJ Reader for Cincinnati has been awesome against the run. So these huge defensive tackles that just stuff up the run are total game changers when they're healthy.
Jimmy, the Seahawks, maybe a bit of paper champions at this point. I keep calling for my Seahawks to get a big victory, and it doesn't really happen. Am I the kiss of death, or the Seahawks paper champions?
No, they're not paper champions. They just you can't win them all, right, Rod? But I think that this week they're going to be able to get back on the right page.
All right. Well, Chris, I know you enjoyed getting up early on the East Coast there and watching some football in Germany. So I know that's one of your things that you know.
Yeah, I know that the fans here need to get more involved in the game, more interaction with the fans and the teams, and the crowd at Germany really showed us how that can be done. They were singing, they were chanting, it was nonstop. It felt like a great, fun atmosphere. And I know this is kind of a thing that you see a lot in European soccer, but I think that is something that we need in America, especially in the NFL, especially in the NBA, and in the major, like any major league professional sports. I mean, it's one reason why we enjoy college basketball a whole lot more than some of the professional sports, because the fan involvement, the fan interaction, they're right there. They're singing, they're chanting. Like, the German fans really showed us what it meant to have a good, fun time at a football game, and we need more of it here at the States.
All right, listen, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but this is a completely ridiculous take out of you, where just a couple of minutes ago you said you didn't give any crap to the safety of the fans, and then you just came on here and you said you need more involvement from the fans. Like, this, what are you doing?
Listen, when it comes to Snow Bowl, let the players play. The fans can stay home. But when the fans are in the stands, in the stadium, let's get some interaction. Let's get some songs being sung. Let's get some chants out there. Let's do something like for the duration of the game, so the team, your home team, knows that you guys are there, involved, invested, and ready to cheer them on.
Jimmy, your thoughts?
It would be nice to have that, but you've got to remember, if you put a game in Carolina, where you are, where the Panthers are, if you put a game in there once every 50 years, everyone's going to be singing and having fun too. You have to be able to continuously get that atmosphere, like, I don't know, Seattle, like I talked about. You know, they've got the bye week this week, but the next 3 weeks they've got Vegas, the Rams, and Carolina. Rod, no paper champion there. I actually like them a lot moving forward now.
Look at you with another circle back there without even saying circle back. Here's what I would say about the fan involvement, Jimmy, all right? And I kind of wondered if you had this thought in the back of your mind as well. The WWE gets an awful lot of fan involvement, right? But you know what? That becomes a double-edged sword sometimes, because you and I talk about it on a wrestling podcast quite often, how the crowd will hijack a segment, exactly, with too many what chants. Guys that you're sitting near when you go see live events will just start cursing and chanting out random stuff, you know what I mean? Like, you get a bunch of fan involvement.
Your children? Yes.
You start getting a bunch of people gelled up and saying, hey, say whatever you want. That has a double-edged sword there. So this is just a complete ridiculous set of double takes out of Chris here at the beginning of the podcast. Old man Chris off to a hot start.
Hey, he's got to make up for some lost time there, so I like it, Chris.
All right,
keep going.
Let's move on to the second pick of the week from our guy Williams, because I know Chris is going to have some thoughts because it involves his Cowboys. And Jimmy, I'm actually going to start with you real quick before Williams handicaps the game, because your heel comes from the Dallas Cowboys, does it not?
Yeah, it's Mike McCarthy, the coach. I do not think he did a good job at all this past game, and I'll let Chris take care of half of my take, because he had that before I did. But also that call in overtime, if you're not going to kick the field goal there, you've got to come up with a better play than that, and it just shows that he's good to a point, but you're not going to win a Super Bowl with him again.
Chris, yeah, let's go ahead and go to you, and then we'll let Williams chop it up there with his handicap of the game.
Okay, let's just hold off on this Mike McCarthy hate. You know, when the Cowboys lose, he's the first one to always get the blame, even though we all know it's Kellen Moore that's calling those plays. Yes, Mike McCarthy said to go for it on fourth, but Kellen Moore is the one that called that ridiculous play. Like we want to trash on McCarthy, and I've been there. Like, listen, I'm the first one to say that I don't think he does much, and I still don't think he does much. But we were able to keep winning. We are above 500 when we lost Dak for about 4 or 5 games. And people weren't wanting to give him the credit then. They kept crediting Cooper Rush for whatever reason. And not Mike McCarthy. But as soon as a couple bad plays go the wrong way, here's Jimmy trying to throw shade at McCarthy again. I'm just saying, if you're going to throw shade at him because of a couple bad calls, you got to give him the love when he's rallying the troops around a backup quarterback and continuing to win. That being said,
wait.
If Dallas,
no, it's his. It's wait. If Cooper Rush does good, it's because of Mike McCarthy. But if Dak doesn't, it's because of Kellen Moore. But Kellen Moore is also calling the plays for you. Dude, get your takes straight. Come on, man. I had your back for the last two.
Listen, it's
Come
not.
on.
It's not because Cooper Rush is good that we won. It's because Mike McCarthy rallied the rest of the team around Cooper Rush to play better. It wasn't necessarily because Cooper Rush came in and was a savior or blah, blah, blah. It's because McCarthy rallied the troops, got the defense believing in themselves, got the right type of morale going on in the locker room. That's the stuff that you need the head coach to do. The problem with the Packers game, if you ask me, wasn't necessarily anything other than letting Dak Prescott throw the ball for 46 times. If Dallas wants to win and make it far and get a couple playoff wins, you can't let Dak throw the ball that much, especially when you're up by 2 scores. Like, yeah, the defense really needed to buckle down there in that fourth quarter, and they didn't. That really bugged me a little bit. That last interception by Dak wasn't great. It was more the receiver's fault than Dak. But, like, you got to run the ball. You got to not throw the ball 46 times. Dak doesn't excel when he's throwing the ball over 40 times. He just doesn't. He needs to throw 30 or fewer passes. Like, 30 should be the limit.
All right, there we go. That's complete nonsense out of you on most of this podcast, Chris. That was a ridiculous, like, let's take all the kids to Dairy Queen and get them ice cream after the game type take there, saying that the coach rallies the troops. These are professional athletes, all right? This is complete ridiculousness. Let's go to our football handicapper, Josh Williams, to clean up this mess that you have just made of this podcast, Chris.
Well, I think Chris is going to be happy here because I am going to take Dallas minus 1.5. And that's across the board here. You can find that anywhere. Look, the Vikings win over the Bills was the second luckiest win per post-game win probability since 2014. The Bills had a 99.3% post-game win expectancy, and that's for like the totality of the overall game in that game. I mean, like the Vikings recovered like 6 fumbles last week. I mean, it was ridiculous that they won that game. The 4th down and 18 catch was ridiculous, though, by Jefferson. One of the best catches I've ever seen in my life.
Ridiculous, man.
Yeah.
If you have not looked this thing up by somehow chance, you have to do it. It's phenomenal.
Insanity, yeah. But, I mean, if you want to talk about overall DVOA, the Vikes are 17th. The Cowboys are 4th, and that's with 6 games of Cooper Rush. So, I mean, they could be even higher if they had Dak the whole season. If you remove turnovers, EPA per play, Minnesota is 16th on offense, 17th on defense. And get this, estimated wins per Football Outsiders, the Cowboys are 7.7. Again, that's 6 games with Cooper Rush. That's 3rd best in the NFL. The Vikes are 4.5. That's 17th in the NFL. The Vikes keep on winning these close games. But, I mean, yards allowed per play, the Vikes are 28th. And I think this is a good situational spot, too, for Dallas. I mean, they blew a 14-point lead in the national 4:30 game last week. Everybody saw it, while Minnesota pulls off this miracle. We talked about the 4th and 18 and then the Allen fumble at his own 1-yard line. I think the turnover regression is going to hit the Vikes at some point here, and it could be this week. They have recovered 75% of their own fumbles, 60% of their opponent's fumbles, and Vegas is begging the public to take Minnesota here. I'm not going to fall for it. Dallas, second in the NFL in pressure rate. Minnesota is 30th in pressure rate allowed. And their stud offensive tackle, Christian Darrisaw, is in the concussion protocol. He's looking iffy to play. Last thing, like I said, public has 53% of the tickets are on the Vikes, but 78% of the money is on the Cowboys. One last thing here, the head ref in this game, you know we missed a week of ref stats, so we had to get at some ref stats here.
You teased ref stats. Here we go.
Yeah, Clay Martin. The home teams, when Clay Martin is the head ref, they're only 23, 34, and 1 against the spread, so he is not swayed by the loud home crowds. Also, he is below average in calling unnecessary roughness and roughing the passer penalties, which I think is a good thing because the Cowboys aren't exactly the most disciplined team in the world. And if you want to bash on McCarthy about anything, it's about his undisciplined Cowboys. So, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna take Dallas -1.5 here. So hopefully Chris is happy with that.
Oh, and listen, who knows what Chris is happy about, especially with the state of mind he's in on this podcast, the different takes. He's been all over the map. He probably is mad that you're picking the Cowboys because he thinks that if you would have picked them, then they were going to win so that he could yell at you next week. That's probably where he wanted to be. Let's move on to our final pick of the week. We mentioned there, we just kind of made allusion to it, that Mr. Williams didn't get to join us last week and drop some great ref stats he had last week for us. The other thing we missed him for last week was a classic Tomlin rah-rah spot that paid off. Mr. Williams, we missed a Tomlin rah-rah spot, but you're back with the Steelers. I'm excited to see that. But this is not a Tomlin rah-rah spot now.
It's not, but I am taking the Steelers +4.
Yes.
This is more of a TJ Watt effect spot. And what I mean by that is when I had no idea about these stats either. When TJ Watt plays, when he just is involved in the game, the Steelers are 53-24 straight up. That's 68%.
Man.
You have to ask when he doesn't play, 0-7 straight up. They've never won a game when he's not on the field. So 57% of the bets are coming in on Pittsburgh, but 95% of the money is coming in on them. That's insane. And then Tomlin as a dog, 48, 26, and 3 against the spread, 65%. And there's still no Jamar Chase. Divisional unders that fall by at least half a point this year are 17-6 to the under. That's 74%. Unders, the under is only getting around 33% of the tickets, but it's still getting about 60% of the money. Why that's big is that if we think the under is going to hit, we're getting 4 points, so that favors the underdog. And second divisional games tend to be on the lower scoring side anyways. And whenever you can get more than a field goal at home with a total of less than 42 and the opponent is without their most explosive weapon in Jamar Chase, I mean, sign me up. Plus, we're getting Tomlin. And last thing, I got more ref stats here. Brad Allen is the head ref in this game. Since 2016, with Allen as the head ref, home dogs are 20-11-1 against the spread. That's 65%. And he's only called 44% of his penalties on home teams last year. And in home divisional games, the under has went 23-12, hitting at a 66% clip. Again, if it's lower scoring game, that's going to help us win our bet. And we're getting 4 points here with the home Steelers. I'll take Steelers +4 on DK or Caesars. You can find that.
All right, Chris, let me come to you real quick because you've been painted up in black and orange stripes about the Bengals for a while here on this podcast, including last year. Where are you at with your Bengals right now as we round into this game against the Steelers?
I really just have a couple stats that I kind of want to throw out, and I think this is why the Bengals are going to pull this one out. 2 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. That's what Kenny Pickett's done so far this year. That's not necessarily what you want back there, quarterbacking your team. I'm going to stick with the Bengals, getting a couple turnovers, turning this around. 2 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. That's tough to get around.
Yeah, that's definitely not really what you want out of your starting quarterback. Well, there we have it. Indy +7, Dallas -1.5, Pittsburgh +4. Those are Williams' 4 picks. We will let him out the door here in just a second after I give you my Tom Cruise game of the week grade for last week and my pick for this week's game. Last week, in an attempt, Jimmy, to completely switch up the mojo from the Tom Cruise game of the week, I picked a ridiculously terrible looking game, and boy did it come in terrible. We had Colt McCoy versus Wofford. Who was the other starting quarterback?
Heck yeah,
Wofford.
buddy.
Yeah, we almost had 0 points in the first half of this Arizona Cardinals LA Rams game last week, but somehow it ended up 27-17. So I guess fairly entertaining. So Jimmy, I am assigning it the grade of night and day. The Tom Cruise, Cameron Diaz, somewhat rom-com action flick. Here's the problem with making a rom-com with Tom Cruise, other than Jerry Maguire. He's never had sexual chemistry with anyone. Tom Cruise is asexual. Don't make a rom-com with Tom Cruise. And, Jimmy, if you remember any of the plot line of the spy stuff in Night and Day, I will give you $1 million because it was incoherent and didn't matter. So I give the Cardinals-Rams the grade of Night and Day. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I remember them running on a dock, I think, somewhere, but that's about it. It did gross over $261 million.
That's just the power of Cruise, though.
So really, it is it looked really, really bad, and it kind of wasn't very good. But at the end, it grossed a lot, and at the end, they did score a lot of points. So I guess you can kind of put it together that way.
Now, Williams, you got any thoughts on Night and Day as the grade for Arizona v. Rams?
I don't. I do not. That's all you guys.
Nice.
See, again, we told you he's all business. He won't even get involved in the Tom Cruise game of the week. Chris, your thoughts on Night and Day as the movie for Arizona Cardinals last week?
Listen, I actually think that movie was much better than that game. If you want to know the backstory, the plot to that, Dano, as we all know, who just played the Riddler in the new Batman movie, he was a wonderkin who created this everlasting battery that these bad guys were trying to get, and Tom Cruise was trying to protect.
Well, how did Cameron Diaz get involved then? Why did he need Cameron Diaz? What was her purpose other than to wear a bikini? Which, I never have a problem with her doing that, but...
That was the only weird thing. She ended up on a plane somehow with him while he was arrested already, and then he break free and then took her with him.
You can't arrest Tom Cruise on a plane. What are we talking about here?
Yeah, no, they had no chance. The next thing you know, they're parachuting out of the plane, and then she gets swept up in the whole thing.
So there we go. I got Night and Day out of last week. A somewhat entertaining movie, but overall not great. We still haven't entered anywhere near the Days of Thunder or Top Gun Maverick scale. Got a few weeks left to get there. This week's game, though, Jimmy, I don't know. I don't think this week's going to get there, but we're going to go with the sometimes very entertaining Detroit Lions. Give me that Dan Campbell energy. And the other times, maybe don't score a lot of points, but at least their games come down to the wire. New York Giants, Brian Daboll energy. Jimmy, Lions, Giants, your prediction for this Tom Cruise game of the week.
I honestly think this is going to be a high-scoring game again for some unknown reason. I don't know why. I think the Giants are going to win. I think the Giants are going to have 40 points.
Nice. There we go. Williams, your thought on this game to be able to come out as a good game and me get it high on the Tom Cruise scale, since I have to explain the Tom Cruise scale to you since you wanted no part of it a few minutes ago.
Well, something's got to give here, man, because the Giants' last 17 home games, I can't believe this, 15-1-1 to the under. So you may have just jinxed yourself, but I'll give you some hope here. The Lions' run D, 30th in yards allowed per carry. The Giants' run D, 32nd in yards allowed per carry. The Lions' pass.
Listen, when in doubt,
I have an
Riska.
idea.
That's what I said. All right, Mr. Williams, thank you so much for all that you do to bring us the wisdom for NFL Week 11. We appreciate it, but since you have to spend so much time crunching out the football numbers, we, of course, let you go before basketball. So we'll talk to you next week, my friend. Thank you. All right, we are going to take a quick little break here, and I will step to the sidecar and become a takester, and one James Thomas Jamriska will be driving on the other side. He's the point guard for the Fast Break.
It's the fastest 15 minutes with a little asterisk in the NBA. I'm Jimmy, joined by Rod and Chris from Balls and Brew fame. We're going to get right into some positive energy here, Rod. I want to talk about the Denver Nuggets. What are your thoughts on this team who looks like they're getting back to where they want to be?
If I'm the Denver Nuggets right now, I'm incredibly excited that I'm playing good basketball. and that my supposed second best player is still rounding into form and I'm still winning games. And the other thing that I love if I'm the Denver Nuggets is that absolutely zero people are talking about me. Chris, do you automatically think of the Denver Nuggets as the second best team in the West? And I could make a lot of arguments right now that they are.
Yeah, I love when you do that. Yeah, no. So, Chris, what are you seeing in the Nuggets that you're not buying? 'Cause obviously, I thought we were going to be positive here, but that's okay. That's fine. What are you not buying about the Denver Nuggets?
No. I would like to see their defense step it up just a little bit more. They're scoring pretty good. They're pretty efficient. I just would like to see them limit teams a little bit, not let teams score 115 to 120 points every night.
All right,
I think
Chris,
if
of
they're
course you're
able
going to bring up defense here,
solidify
but let
the
me push
defense
back
a
against
little
that.
bit
We bring
more,
up Jamal Murray. I
then
think
maybe
he's
I
still
can
going to
take
round
them
into
as
something. I think that
legitimate.
guy has quite a resume to show that he is a legitimate scorer in the NBA. But Michael Porter Jr. is shooting 7 3-pointers a game, and he is hitting those at a 46% clip. Jimmy, the game is all about 3-pointers these days, and Michael Porter Jr. is in the perfect position to shoot and make many of them with Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets. I love where the Nuggets are at right now, so I don't want to poo-poo him like Chris did.
This is why you signed him to that big deal, not the maximum deal, but still a big deal a couple years ago. Last year was a reason you didn't sign him to that, but as long as they can keep his minutes kind of where they are now, give him a day off every now and then, we got to keep that back okay. It's great that he's doing that now, Rod, but he needs to do that and be available in the playoffs.
Definitely true, and I'm laying a big assumption that Jamal Murray continues to round back into form and that this isn't just the new Jamal Murray after a pretty catastrophic injury. So I guess I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, but Jokic just carried this team to being pretty darn good the last couple of years, and we just talked about how hopefully this year he's got more help. So I love where the Nuggets are at.
Okay, another team that is 9-6 on the season. They made a huge trade during the offseason that seems to be working out. Chris King, the Atlanta Hawks are right now third in the East. Are you buying this, or are there some things that you really need to see a little bit more out of them? Yes. Yep.
I'm buying right now. And listen, we're only 2 years removed from them being in the Eastern Conference Finals, so it's not that big of a stretch. They made the right moves in the offseason, it looks like. Some of these teams in the East aren't playing as well as what they should have, and Atlanta's there, and they're legit. I don't think they're any kind of slouch. I think you're still looking at maybe a team that doesn't have to
the big
that makes it past the
trade.
Play-in game. Like they're in the top
kind of
6
first
of the
trade
East
that
by the
happened, and
season's
after that
end.
there are a few more trades and an almost trade as well. People were kind of second guessing this. How do you think it's gone so far, and would you do it again if you were the Hawks?
Absolutely, I would do it again if I were the Hawks. And if I was the Minnesota Timberwolves, I'd be trying to get a hold of Doc Emmett Brown and some plutonium and a DeLorean right now to go back in time and give up that booty that I gave up for Rudy Gobert to get DeJounte Murray. Because, Chris, you want to talk defense? How about DeJounte Murray with 30 steals already on the year for that Atlanta Hawks team that's had trouble defending in the past? How about the big man being back when we talk Atlanta Hawks here, Jimmy? Clint Capella is shooting about 60% on the year. He's averaging 11 rebounds a game. And when he goes out, Onyeka Okongwu is no slouch as well. I like a lot of what Atlanta is doing. Trae Young still getting 26, 9 assists. If you want me to poo-poo one thing about the Atlanta Hawks, John Collins is completely a forgotten man. He only has 189 total points scored on the year.
Well, and that's tough because Collins, you never really knew what his trade value was. You're always hearing these huge package deals with John Collins. But as you just said, he does not fit in at all with this team anymore. And his value has just plummeted to where you're going to maybe get an expiring for him, but you're not going to get any picks for him as well.
Jimmy, he's PJ Tucker. I mean, he's PJ
Yeah,
Tucker right now.
yeah.
And no shouts to PJ Tucker, but PJ Tucker's not a guy that should be getting paid the kind of money that John Collins is getting from the Hawks. They had to give him like a $90 million extension, I believe, at the beginning of last year. That's not a guy you want just being PJ Tucker because, newsflash, he's not as good at defense as PJ Tucker is, and he's not quite as consistent with the corner three.
Yeah, that's true. And you mentioned Okongwu, who has really stepped up, kind of becoming the player they want him to be, still really young. I love the fact that they have the Holiday brothers as well, just on the bench there. But I do love the fact that they are they're playing some younger players too. Griffin from Duke didn't really play much at all at Duke, really starting to do well here for the Hawks. So I think they've got a lot to look forward to. Now we've got to go to the other end of the spectrum. And I believe, yes, the music is cueing. It's the Rodemnation of the week.
I believe it was the Los Angeles Underground crime lord Marcellus Wallace who once reminded us that you feel that in the back of your head, that's pride fucking with you. And I apologize. I don't normally like to curse on this podcast, but that's the quote, ladies and gentlemen. I am using that as the frame for my Rodemnation this week to the ownership / management of the Golden State Warriors. I don't know if this is more of a Bob Myers call or if this is more of an ownership call at this point. You hear an awful lot about Joe Lacob out there, but the Golden State Warriors' hubris and ego and pride is failing them right now. They love to do interviews on podcasts and magazines and tell you how smart they are and how much they want to be the new San Antonio Spurs and how much they are going to buck the trends and show everyone that you can win with a current expensive core while bringing up a young, cheap core. Pay them, and then you can hand the baton off seamlessly. That does not seem to be working out for the Golden State Warriors. The number 2 pick in the draft a few years ago, Jameis Winston.
Yes.
Wiseman,
Winston.
excuse
Yes.
me. James Wiseman has
Good arm.
just been
Good
sent
arm.
down to the G League. He's giving you absolutely nothing. When you bring in Jonathan Kuminga, things get bad. Jordan Poole doesn't seem to be adjusting very well to his role off the bench. Klay Thompson, who you're holding on to, I guess, out of thank you, Klay, for everything you've done for the organization, seems to be better suited to be the sixth man. Jordan Poole seems to be better to be starting, but Golden State is still not doing that. Jimmy, am I being too harsh on the Golden State Warriors, or do you see a little bit of my point here that pride seems to be altering the trajectory of this championship-ready team?
Bob Myers is my Kyrie Irving Memorial Heel of the Week this week, so it kind of goes hand in hand there because, yes, that's the problem. They had an opportunity when they had Wiseman in the building for a whole year. Now, he didn't play, but they had him in the building, so they could figure out what type of person he was, the work ethic, the rehab ethic. They knew what they had. They could have packaged him in one of those picks that they made for something bigger to win in the near future. Every NBA team this year is the year to win. Every year. You can't plan for 5 or 6 years down the road because you never know what's going to happen. You might have a disgruntled star punch another player. Just for an example, just throwing it out there. You never know. So I think that the hubris really did come back to bite them. And Chris King, I want to get your thoughts on this because I love that you're always contrarian. I think you're going to say that they're the best team in the league. But what are your thoughts on the Warriors, and do you think they got a little too cocky for their own good?
Yeah, so one thing I know is that the Spurs never had to go out there and tell people, look at what we're doing, look at how we're this successful. But you seem to get that from Golden State. Also, and you touched on a little bit there, Jimmy, about the locker room morale that may be happening at Golden State. Maybe that punch heard around the world was a little bit shaky in the locker room now. Maybe there's a little bit more clicky type
Rod,
stuff going on.
can
It's
you
hard to
believe that
build
I
a
think we're
cohesive
all on the
unit
same page on
when
this
you
one?
have strife like
Yeah,
that.
it's one of those things that like I think we all kind of said that Golden State is championship ready, right? They have a transcendent, incandescent talent in Steph Curry, right? You owe it to this man to do all you can to win an NBA championship. I believe Golden State told us, you alluded to it in the punch there, and so did Chris. I believe Golden State told us they were all in for a championship when they did not trade Draymond Green. Okay, he's a good basketball player and he helps them win. And they said, you know what? We are going to stick with him because we think ultimately he can help us win a championship. We understand that it may hurt team morale. So I don't want to 100% like pull the panic alarm that we got to like clear out of this place like it's Chernobyl and we have to bring in the cleanup crew. I think Golden State might be able to right this ship a little bit, but I'm so with you, Jimmy, that they should have pulled the trigger on trading these young guys, because I'm going to bring in fantasy here, which I do so often. It's not great to do it, but I think the analogy is apt here.
It's fine.
In fantasy sports, I love nothing more than trading a guy when he's an idea of something. If I can trade a guy to somebody else that's an idea of something, he's going to end up being much more valuable to me at that point than he probably will when he plays, and then that person's going to be able to look at stats on the stat sheet, and that's what's playing against Golden State right now. So, Jimmy, like you said, if they could have turned any of those young guys that are giving them nothing right now into a couple of other solid role players, or not have to pay Jordan Poole as quickly as they did, they might be able to have solid role players, and instead they got these young guys that give them nothing now. Dun, 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 dun.
We have a new king this week, and let me tell you, when you're a team in the NBA and you go out there and you win 8 games in a row, you're gonna have a
Let's go, baby. My
strong argument
C's,
to
my
be
C's,
king,
baby.
and that's
Let's go.
exactly
The
what's
Bucks
happened. The
are
Boston
out.
Celtics are the new king of the hardwood hierarchy this week. Yep, the Bucks aren't. They're out of the king seat, but I'm still putting them in the queen. They're still the second best team right now. Wow. And after that, I'm gonna go with Phoenix as the prince, and I think I'm gonna have to make
Doing great.
Houston my jesters again. I know that they're trying to get that number 1 pick, and they're in a dogfight right now with Detroit. You know, Detroit's doing the right thing if you're looking at that. They've lost 4 in a row, but like if
Jimmy,
you're
I got
Houston,
two
you can't
thoughts
go
off
out there
of
and
his
beat
hardwood
Dallas
hierarchy
that
real
badly
quick,
if you're
and
trying
then
to
I'll
get
let
that
you
number
respond.
1 pick.
There we go. Good. My
That makes
first
them my
thought is we just
court
talked
jester.
about how much we think a little bit of strife and drama is hurting the Golden State Warriors. How much of that do we think is going on in Phoenix, but yet somehow it hasn't affected them? And my thing for Jester, I love Chris picking the Rockets there, because for my Rodemnation, I almost went for Jalen Green, because, Jimmy, I'm not sure Jalen Green knows there's a thing in basketball called passing.
Nah.
My guy Alperen Şengün and the number 2 pick overall in the draft, or maybe the 3 pick, I can't remember, Jalen Smith Jr. can get nothing down there because Jalen Green and his buddy Kevin Porter Jr. just cook and shoot all the time.
Well, with the Rockets, they've bought into the hype. They're like, well, they're going to lose, so they just might as well score all the time. Okay, we'll score all the time, and not really getting that team, which is why you have 3 wins. But Chris, my boys, they're not on there. They were number 1 at one point. They have 10 wins. They have the face of the week in Danny Ainge, who that trade is looking more and more great for Utah. The Jazz, what happened, bud?
Oh, man, that trade's looking golden, isn't it?
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah, you can't lose 3 in a row. You know, drop down to 4th in the league and think you're still gonna be in my hardwood hierarchy. Like this hierarchy is what have you done for me lately more than anything else. In the past week, the Jazz haven't done much except lose.
They beat the Lakers and the Clippers. Does that count?
No, I don't think it does.
So before we leave, I just want to say that again, Danny.
Everybody's
amazing
beat the
trade.
Lakers and the
Everyone thought it was
Clippers.
a horrible trade when it happened. for the Timberwolves, obviously. And it's just looking more and more and more just like, what were the Timberwolves thinking? Think about what they gave up. They could have gotten Donovan Mitchell. They could have gotten DeJounte Murray. Of course they could have. They probably could have gotten Kevin Durant with that. But no. They decided to go all in on Rudy Gobert, who I believe every single person on every team he's played with hates.
Facts.
I don't see what's happening there, and I think they're going to be the gesture here pretty soon because I don't see anything happening with them. That is going to do it for the fast break. We are almost out of time. Before we leave, yep, Chris, yep, go ahead. Oh,
wait,
yes.
Wait, Jimmy. We need to get caught up on the Kings real fast. Let me tell you, they are back in the playoff hunt. Let me throw you some quick stats about how elite of an offense they are showing up right now. They are second in the NBA in offensive rating, points per game, effective field goal percentage, and true shooting percentage. They are second in all of those categories in the NBA. This is a big complete turnaround in less than a year. Essentially, they were woeful on offense last
We
year.
are the official
moves.
We are the official Sacramento Kings podcast of Northern Indiana, and we have lost a little bit of our cred the past couple of weeks. The Kings are hot. I got two other stats for you here, Jimmy. Yep. The Kings starting five is a whopping plus 16 per 100 minutes. That's one of the best per starting five per 100s in the NBA. And De'Aaron Fox leads the league in clutch points. Let's go, Sacramento.
And with that,
he's shooting 64% on clutch shots.
Network.
That's insane.
Chris King, take us home.
Goodbye, Internet.